This might sound crazy, but what if Steve Rogers created the Victor Von Doom we're gonna see in Avengers Doomsday? And I know, like I said, it's gonna sound crazy, but just walk with me for a second. So, if you saw Avengers Endgame, we all seen the ending where Steve went with Mjolnir in his hand and the shield and put the stones back. And he comes back, he gives the shield to Sam. Sam's the new Captain America, so on and so on. And as they say, the rest is history. But I have a theory. Maybe the Victor Von Doom that we're going to see in Avengers Doomsday was created because of the events of Steve going back in time, putting the stones back in their place, or so he thinks. Because the reason why this might be, right? And the reason why I came up with this theory and I'm kind of thinking about it. Steve going back in time. What if he put the stones back there, right? Obviously, it's going to become a little bit of a challenge because he's going to have to deal with all the circumstances that come. They're just not going to be put back in their rightful spot. Like, he came with Mjolnir and shield. So, obviously, he's going to go and have some sort of conflict with certain people about, putting the stones back in place and blah, blah, blah. But, obviously, Kang knows everything about the multiverse from the beginning to the end of the multiverse. What if he sees Steve Rogers putting the stones back in this branch timeline, back in its place, sees that, has a problem with it. They get into some sort of conflict, blah, 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 blah. Steve still walks away, but he doesn't walk away clean cut, without any damage on him. He's been through a battle, all of that. Tony Stark, thinking that this Steve Rogers is their universe's Steve Rogers and their timeline Steve Rogers, is going to be asking him, like, basically, what's he doing? And Steve's going to have to explain this whole entire thing about the multiverse and about the timeline and about them going back in time and about the in-game snap, the Infinity War snap and everything about that, right? And he's going to talk about Kang. Because I think that while Steve putting the stones back in their place, he had a run-in with Kang. If you've seen Ant-Man Quantumanium, one of the lines that Kang said to him was, "You're not the one with the hammer," right? Everybody's first thought immediately went to Thor. And I'm not going to lie, I immediately went to Thor too. But after watching that movie and watching it over again, it had me theorizing that what if he wasn't talking about him, right? Walk with me for a second, because it's all going to make sense. So, Steve and Kang get into a conflict. They run into each other. They have a battle. Steve walks away, but Kang ultimately wins. Now, because of maybe Steve telling that timeline's Tony Stark about what's to come and about what's happening and about Kang, Tony Stark, knowing what he knows now and seeing what happened in Age of Ultron, goes into hyperdrive mode. We see him in Bruce try to create, Ultron, and it didn't work out and they kind of just left it. What if this Tony Stark actually is like, no, scratch that, forget what everybody says, I'm going to do this, and everybody's going to be protected, and our timeline is going to be protected from this guy. So he goes into hyperdrive mode, trying to learn everything he can about the timelines, about the multiverse, about time travel, about Thanos snapping half of the universe away, about everything there is to do with incursions, all of that. Has all this technology and all this machinery and all this stuff made, learns about magic, everything. Tells the other Avengers about him. The other Avengers don't agree, so he makes a new suit and has a run-in and a conflict with Kang. This is where you get potentially the rumor. It was a rumor out there about a couple weeks ago that was saying that in Avengers Doomsday, they're going to talk about how Kang got defeated by Victor Von Doom. And how Dr. Doom defeated Kang. And essentially, like, Kang's story is going to be complete because he's going to die officially. He's going to die officially by the hands of Dr. Doom. What if this is because of this timeline's Tony Stark? Because now, knowing everything that he knows, going into hyperdrive mode, trying to essentially protect his timeline and protect his Earth and his universe, he's going to try to fend off Kang by whatever means necessary. And ended up killing Kang because of this. Now, seeing what Kang did with the timelines and what was going to happen about him destroying the timelines, and now Tony now seeing all the incursions and the timelines being out of whack and the whole entire multiverse being out of whack. What if this is how he discovers that the main perpetrator, as people would say, the main perpetrator of this happening is Earth 616, the main timeline. So because of that, seeing all the incursions, and now he knows about incursions and what incursions are, and the fact that they destroy worlds and universes, and universes get destroyed when two worlds collide, he's going to try to stop this by every means, and that's how he's going to enter into our timeline, into our Earth, and into our universe. And that's how Avengers Doomsday is going to introduce Victor Von Doom, and that's how I honestly think him being Victor Von Doom in this movie is going to somehow be tied to events that happen with Steve putting the stones back in its rightful place. That's just my theory. But by the end of this whole entire thing, that's how Victor Von Doom is going to be introduced into Doomsday, and that's how he's going to now understand that Earth 616 has to be stopped in order to protect his universe. Because that report did say that in the plot of the movie, Victor is going to see himself as the hero. And I honestly think this is how, because he's going to see it as Earth 616 is the cause for all of this. They're the reason why all of this stuff in the timeline and all the stuff in the universe, the whole entire multiverse is out of whack. They're the reason why, and they have to be stopped. That's how I think he's going to officially enter into Earth 616 universe and into the main timeline in the MCU. That's just my theory. Obviously, it's not been confirmed nor denied. This is just my theory. These are just not even rumors. This is just speculation. But I'm not going to lie. It would make sense. And I have a theory that the events that happened at the end of Endgame with Steve putting the stones back in his place created another version of Tony Stark where Tony Stark becomes Doctor Doom. That's just my theory. Comment down below what you guys think your theories are about Avengers Doomsday and how they'll introduce Victor Von Doom in Avengers Doomsday, and how they'll set up essentially that this is a different Tony Stark and this is not the Tony Stark that we know. Comment down below what you think about this. Obviously, guys, this is just my theory. This is just my theory. I'm not right or wrong. This is just thoughts and what I've been seeing and stuff that I've seen online. I accumulated all that into my own theory. So this is obviously not even like a real thing. This has not been confirmed. Like I said, none of this is true. This is just my theory. But comment down below what you think about this. If you're excited for Avengers Doomsday like I am, comment down below as always. I'm John Talks. I'll see you guys in the next review.